Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Feel Good English podcast. I'm so happy you're here with me today. You know, we often think that to make a difference in this world, we need to be rich, powerful, or famous, but that isn't true at all. The biggest changes usually start very quietly, with small things we do every day. Today, I want to tell you a beautiful story about a man named Daniel. He didn't have much, but he changed many lives just by being kind. Here is his story. Every morning, before the sun came up, a man named Daniel walked the same quiet road to work. He was not rich. In fact, most people would have called him poor. He lived in a small house with a roof that leaked whenever it rained. His clothes were old. His lunch was almost always the same: a peanut butter sandwich, an apple, and a bottle of water. But if you saw Daniel walking down the street, you would never know how hard his life was. He always smiled, he always waved, and he always asked, "How are you today?" People smiled back, but very few asked him the same question. Daniel worked as a cleaner at a hospital. Most people walked past him without saying a word. Some never even looked at him. But Daniel treated everyone with kindness. If someone dropped something, he picked it up. If someone looked lost, he helped them. If a child was crying, he made funny faces until they laughed. He believed something his mother had told him many years before. She used to say, "You don't have to be rich to leave someone richer." When he was little, he never understood those words. Now he did. You can leave someone richer with hope, with kindness, with one smile. Daniel's mother had died when he was only 16. His father had passed away 2 years later. Since then, life had not been easy. There were days he wanted to give up, days when the bills were too much, days when he felt completely alone. But every time he wanted to quit, he remembered one thing. His mother had smiled until her very last day. If she could smile through pain, he could keep walking too. One cold morning, Daniel noticed a little boy sitting outside the hospital. The boy couldn't have been older than 8. He wore a thin jacket that wasn't warm enough. His shoes had holes in them. He sat quietly, looking at the ground. Daniel walked over. "Good morning," he said gently. The boy looked up. "Morning. My name's Daniel. I'm Noah." Daniel sat beside him. "You waiting for someone?" "My mom." "Is she okay?" Noah shrugged. "I don't know." Daniel didn't ask another question. Sometimes people don't need questions. Sometimes they just need someone to sit with them. They stayed there in silence. After a few minutes, Daniel reached into his lunch bag. He pulled out his apple. "You like apples?" Noah smiled. "Yeah." "Then this one is yours." The boy looked surprised. "But it's your lunch." "I think today you need it more than I do." Noah accepted the apple with both hands. He smiled in a way that Daniel would never forget. A real smile, the kind that comes from the heart. Over the next few weeks, Daniel saw Noah often. His mother was receiving treatment at the hospital. Every morning before work, Daniel spent 10 minutes talking with him. Sometimes they laughed. Sometimes they played simple guessing games. Sometimes they said almost nothing. One rainy morning, Daniel noticed Noah staring at his shoes. "They're falling apart," Noah whispered. Daniel looked down. It was true. The front of one shoe had opened so much that Noah's sock was sticking out. Daniel quietly looked at his own shoes. They were old too. Very old. The soles were almost worn flat, but they still worked. Without saying anything, Daniel went home after work. He cleaned his shoes until they almost looked new. The next morning, he handed them to Noah. I think these might fit. Noah stared at him. But what about you? I'll figure something out. Daniel walked to work that day wearing old sandals. It was freezing outside. His feet hurt, but his heart felt warm. That evening, one of his coworkers noticed. Daniel, where are your shoes? Oh, he laughed. Someone else needed them. His coworker shook his head. You're too nice. Daniel smiled. I hope not. Days turned into months. One afternoon, Noah came running toward Daniel. My mom is going home. Daniel clapped. That's wonderful. Noah hugged him tightly. Before leaving, Noah said something Daniel never expected. When I grow up, I want to help people like you. Daniel smiled. No. Noah looked confused. Help people because they're people. Years passed. Daniel grew older. His hair turned gray. Walking became slower. His little house became even quieter. Many of the people he had helped had moved away. Some probably forgot his name, and that was okay. He had never helped people to be remembered. One winter, Daniel became very sick. The doctors told him he needed surgery. He was scared, not because of the surgery, because he had no family beside him. The morning of the operation, he lay quietly in his hospital bed. He looked around the room. It was empty. For the first time in many years, he felt alone. Then, there was a knock on the door. A young doctor walked in. He smiled. Good morning, Daniel. Daniel smiled back. Morning, doctor. The doctor looked at him for a long moment. Then he asked, Do you remember giving a little boy an apple? Daniel looked confused. The doctor continued, and later, a pair of old shoes. Daniel's eyes became wide. Noah? The doctor laughed. Yes. Before Daniel could say another word, Noah hugged him. I've been looking for you for years. Daniel couldn't speak. Tears filled his eyes. Noah pulled up a chair. I never forgot you. You probably don't remember everything, but I do. I remember every morning you sat beside me. I remember every joke. I remember that apple. I remember those shoes. You didn't just give me food. You gave me hope. When my mom thought she wasn't going to make it, you made us believe tomorrow could still be good. Daniel wiped away a tear. Noah smiled. I became a doctor because of you. Daniel whispered. I only cleaned the hospital. Noah shook his head. No, you cleaned more than floors. You cleaned away fear. You cleaned away loneliness. You reminded people that they mattered. The room became silent. After a moment, Noah reached into a bag. I have something for you. He pulled out a brand new pair of shoes. They're not because you need shoes. They're because one pair of old shoes changed my life. Daniel laughed through his tears. You remembered. I remembered everything. The surgery went well. When Daniel woke up, he expected another quiet room. Instead, it was full. Nurses, doctors, receptionists, cleaners, patients, people from the neighborhood. One after another, they shared stories. You stayed late when my husband passed away. You helped my daughter stop crying. You carried my groceries. You paid for my coffee. You fixed my broken fence. You never knew my name, but you smiled every morning. Daniel sat there, speechless. He had forgotten most of those moments. The people never had. One elderly woman stepped forward. She said, You probably thought you lived an ordinary life, but ordinary people don't change hundreds of lives. They change the world one heart at a time. A few years later, Daniel passed away peacefully in his sleep. He owned very little. His bank account was small. His house was simple. He never became famous. The local newspaper printed a short article about him. It called him a kind man, but the people who knew him thought the title was far too small. At his funeral, the church was full. People stood outside because there was no room left inside. Doctors stood beside cleaners. Business owners stood beside homeless people. Children stood beside grandparents. Everyone had a story. One person said Daniel had bought them lunch. Another said he had helped fix a flat tire. Another remembered that Daniel visited them every week. None of the stories were big. That was the amazing part. His life had been built from thousands of small acts of love. Finally, Noah stood to speak. He looked at the crowd. Then he held up an old pair of worn-out shoes. Daniel's shoes. The same pair that had once belonged to him. The room became completely silent. Noah smiled through tears. When I was a little boy, I thought this man gave me shoes. He paused. But I was wrong. He gave me a future. He taught me that kindness costs less than we think and is worth more than we can imagine. I've saved many lives. People thank me for what I do. But the truth is, I'm only here because one tired man chose to give away the only good pair of shoes he owned. Noah looked around the room. If Daniel were standing here today, he wouldn't want us talking about him. He would tell us to notice the lonely person, to feed the hungry person, to smile at the stranger, to forgive, to love, because that's how the world changes, not all at once, but one heart at a time. Before you go, take a moment to think about this story. If it touched your heart, don't let it end here. Share a little kindness with someone today. You never know how much your words, your smile, or your actions could change another person's life. And if you enjoyed this story and would like to hear more inspiring stories like this, please subscribe to the channel, give this video a like, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a new story. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next episode.